Okay, this is part one on the story time on how my grandmother and my aunt secretly adopted my son.
She said her grandma and her aunt took her baby from her and they are not ready to give her her son back. And I'm wondering how. She made part one, part two, part three, part four of this story time, explaining how it all happened, how she got pregnant while she was young, how they just did not want her to see her son anymore when they took the child away from her, or when she went to give them the child and just tell them, okay, just have the child for temporary, probably a year till I get my feet back or something. And now they don't even want her to see her son anymore. They don't even want her to have her son at all, and she involved the police, she involved lawyers, everything, but nothing is working out. Let's watch the story time together, then we'll come back and discuss.
Okay, this is part one on the story time on how my grandmother and my aunt secretly adopted my son. Now, this story time is probably going to have a lot of family members upset and uproar, but it is what it is. And I miss my baby. And I've been coming to God and praying, asking, like, what is it that I can do? Because I really miss my baby. And He's been putting it on my heart to come to social media. And I've seen the impact on social media, the impact that social media has on people and things. And I'm just praying that this gets into the right hands, someone that can really help me. So, a little backstory on how my grandmother ended up with my son. So, by the time I was 18, I had two babies. Nothing to be proud of, nothing that I'm bragging on, but no excuses. But this is how that ultimately became my reality. So, I was being educated by a family member, and I brought it to the school's attention, counselors, family, all of that. And black people like to sweep everything under the rug in the household. And I was told, like, if you tell them that this is really happening to you, then they will take you and your siblings, and you guys will go in the system. Now I'm young, so I'm the oldest child, and I love my siblings. I want to protect them, so I'm like, okay, I'll tell them that I was lying. So that's what I did. But then seeing this family member around constantly and everybody just acting like this never happened to me and we're one big happy family, I started running away. I was hurt and I didn't know how to like express that. I didn't feel safe expressing things to this family anymore. So, um, yeah, I ran away and I was labeled as this bad, defiant child, but no one really talked about what went on with me. So, hold on. So, yeah, like I said, I ended up running away and I met a much older guy. And I ended up getting pregnant by him at 16. I had my baby at 17. And a few months after having my baby, we ended up moving to another state. When we moved to another state, it was a very toxic environment for me. I ended up finding out I was pregnant again. And I was just ready to come home. It was too toxic. So I came back home, but my mom, she's always been a single mom. So we moved a lot. I can't really name a time where we lived in the house for like more than a year or two. Like, we moved a lot. So when I came home, my mom, she was living with a friend. And so that I'm like, okay, me coming home with a small baby and then pregnant again, it was like putting an extra load on her. And so a few months after that, I ended up meeting my now husband and just telling him everything that I was going through or whatever. And when I told him, we were talking for a few months, and he's like, why don't you just come live with me and my family? Like, that'll give you like a stable place to be with your baby. So I'm like, okay. So a few months after moving in with him and his family, I ended up having my baby, and I was now 18. And we ended up filing taxes like a couple months later or whatever. And my mom is like, hey, how about you guys give me half on this house that I found? Like, it's X amount of bedrooms. You guys can have the whole basement. It has a bathroom and a bedroom in a basement. You guys give me half. We can split the bill. So we're like, okay, yeah, that's stability. It'll help everybody. So we ended up giving her half of the taxes. Now, we gave her half of the taxes. She ended up getting a 2-bedroom apartment. When she got the 2-bedroom apartment, it was just her and my 3 younger siblings on the lease. My sibling right under me, he ended up moving in with my grandmother. So now my husband, he was pissed, and I understand him now. So we got into a real big argument. We ended up breaking up. So now I really didn't have anywhere to go. Now I was living out of my car with me and my 2 babies. Now my mom did help; she'll babysit my babies while I worked and everything. But my son, he was very colicky, so he was real fussy. So one day she ended up bringing him to my job. Like, I can't do it. He's super fussy. I'm too old for this. So she dropped him off at my job. Ultimately I ended up losing that job at Wendy's, and right after losing my job, I lost my car. So when I lost my car, I ended up reaching out to my grandmother, and I just explained to her everything that was going on. And my grandmother's like, oh yeah, you and the babies could come here. And my cousin ended up taking me over there. Now the next morning, my grandfather, he comes down the stairs like, I don't know what your grandmother told you, but this is not a homeless shelter. Like, you guys cannot stay here. And I think it's maybe because my brother was already there, then I was coming there with 2 kids. It was just a lot. So I ended up calling my kids' father on their father's side. I mean, my kids' grandmother on their father's side. And she's like, oh, I can get the older baby or whatever. And so I'm like, okay. So she got the older baby. And then my grandmother ended up having a conversation with me like, hey, me and your mom did this before. I can take your son, let you get yourself together, and then you can just come back for him. You can see him whenever you want. Just get yourself together. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I dropped my son off over there. Now I'm seeing them regularly, my daughter and my son. And fast forward to me getting myself together, my other aunt ended up helping me get a place downstairs from her. So September 3rd is 2016. That's the last time I seen my son. I will never forget that day. Like, that was the last time I was able to see him. On that day, I was telling my grandmother like, hey, my aunt, she helped me get a place downstairs from her. I got a car, I got a job. Now me and my now husband, we ended up getting back together. So he helped me get the place. We got a car, we got a job, we fully furnished the place. And I was telling her that I was coming back to get him. So, you know, things just ended up getting really weird once I told her that. So fast forward to like November, I was fully moved in, and I'm like, hey, I'm coming back to get him. Nothing. I'm not hearing anything from her anymore. So I ended up going down there. Me and my husband went down to her house with the police because I started to get concerned. And we went down there with the police. It was just like a wellness check, and they didn't answer the door. So I ended up telling my best friend and her family what was going on. And they're like, no, we're going back with the police. So it was myself, my husband, my best friend, her mom, and her grandmother. They came with me to her house with the police. So when we got there, my granddad, he was very upset, like, get the F off my lawn and blah, blah. So the police ended up making us sit in the car down the street. So when the police came back to the car, they're like, oh, this is a civil matter now. They have temporary guardianship. So I'm like, yeah, me and my grandmother, we signed the temporary guardianship, the 1-year temporary guardianship, so she can have him in daycare and everything because my grandmother still worked. He's like, no, it's court order. You have to go to the court. So the temporary guardianship that me and my grandmother ended up signing at the currency exchange, she took it to the courts. So now it was like a legal court document, and that was never in the plan. Okay. So me and my husband, we ended up going to the courthouse. Now I didn't know. I was explaining to them what was going on. They're like, hey, we're gonna let you see this judge. So they let me see the judge, and she was very nasty. She's like, oh, you're pregnant again, you're a young poverty mom, you don't think that it's best that this child stays where he is? And I'm like, no, because the agreement was for me to get myself together and then come back for my baby. So you need to seek legal counsel. You need to seek legal counsel. Okay, so come back for part 2 of how my grandmother and my aunt secretly adopted my son. Okay, this is part 2 of how my grandmother and my aunt, they secretly adopted my son. So yeah, the judge, she was just telling us like, oh, you guys have to seek legal counsel. Now, remind you, me and my now husband, we were making minimum wage, okay? So we were struggling. We already had children, and so we did reach out to multiple lawyers. Some lawyers, they were very dismissive, like, if that's the case and you can go and get your baby if it was just temporary guardianship, right? And by this time, the year for the temporary guardianship has already been up. A lot of lawyers, they like, the prices were just ridiculous. Like, it was crazy for us. Nothing that we could afford at the time, right? So I ended up so my son, he could see anybody in the family but me, right? Me and my children. So my cousins and their children always go see him, you know. So it was just weird to me, like, what is really going on? So fast forward, I ended up going to nursing school and everything, just trying to get in a better position so I can afford to get a lawyer, get an attorney. And when I did contact an attorney that was like affordable, she was just telling me, like, I see nothing in the court saying that they have any type of guardianship, custody, anything. Like, you can go and get your baby. So now I'm just getting to run around with everybody. Like, the police is telling me, like, ma'am, we've been here before. We told you that it's civil. But then I have the court saying seek legal counsel. But then I have legal counsel telling me, like, just go get the baby. So now I don't know what to do. I ended up seeing my grandmother at my cousin, her baby passed, so I ended up seeing her and my aunt at a funeral. And I go up to them and I'm like, hey, like, where's my baby? Yeah, I kid you not. My aunt, she never looked at me. My grandmother, she says, you have other children. He's fine. You need to worry about your other children. So now I'm just like, huh? Like, where is this energy coming from, right? So fast forward, me and my husband, we ended up getting married. And my mom, she was in contact with my grandmother, and she was like, hey, she's getting married. Can you bring the baby to the wedding? So she's like, oh yeah, he's gonna come. So I ended up getting him a full outfit and everything for her to show up without him, right? And her thing is, oh, your aunt isn't ready to talk right now. So now she's starting to throw my aunt in the mix, like, oh, you guys need to have a conversation. She's not ready to talk right now. She's not ready to have a conversation. But if the agreement was between me and you, what does she have to do with when I can see him? What do me and her need to have a conversation about, right? So we're going through all of this. My daughter, my oldest daughter ended up finding him on Roblox. And she ended up just talking to him and telling him, like, hey, you know, our mom, she wants to see you. She missed you. And, you know, they took you from us. And so they ended up finding out. And she was no longer able to contact him on Roblox. Like, they ended up taking his phone or some weird stuff, right? So fast forward, my uncle, he ended up coming home. And when he came home, he had ended up doing like 20 years in the feds. So when he ended up coming home, of course, he wants everybody to be a big, happy family. He's trying to figure out the disconnect, right? So they're telling him whatever they're telling him. So Christmas rolls around, and my grandmother is telling him, like, oh, yeah, she's more than welcome to come see him for Christmas. She's more than welcome to come, you know, making it seem as though they've been welcoming me and I haven't been coming. So I buy all of this stuff for him for Christmas. And I'm excited. I told the kids, like, hey, we get to go see your brother. Hopefully we get to bring him home. We get to figure out what's going on. And she's just like, Christmas Eve, she's like, oh, no, your aunt, she doesn't want any misinformation given to him. Misinformation? So now my uncle, he's like, okay, I call BS. Like, what is really going on? So he's like, I'll bring the gifts that they bought to him. So she's like, no, he can't have any gifts from her. This is my aunt. Like, no, he can't have any gifts from her. So he's like, why not? Like, what? You guys, so my uncle is getting upset. Like, you guys don't even have custody of him. Give her baby. Like, everybody in the family at this point is like, just give her baby back. Give her baby. No. So I ended up finally finding an attorney that was willing to just listen to me and look into the case and actually see what was going on, right? So he's like, you know, I don't see anything saying that they have custody or guardianship or anything, so I'm going to send them a letter to their house addressing everyone that lives in the house to return the child that does not belong to them. Mind you, my son, he's never been to school. He's never been to the doctor since he was a little baby, and I took him to the doctor. He doesn't have a social life. My aunt, she says that he's being homeschooled by my grandmother. Mind you, my grandmother is old. Okay, how is she homeschooling him? So he puts all of this in the letter, like he's not in school, he doesn't have a social life, like you guys have no rights to this child, right? So my grandmother and my aunt, they ended up calling my my uncle, and they're pissed. They're like, how could she do this to us, and she's harassing us, and I adopted him. Now this is where the whole adoption thing come in at, right? So she's like, I adopted him. I adopted him back in 2017. My aunt adopted him back in 2017. So I'm telling my uncle, like, no, they couldn't. How can they adopt a kid without the mother? How is that even possible? If I gave my grandmother temporary guardianship of my son, how was my aunt saying that she adopted him, right? So my uncle was like, okay, she's saying that y'all didn't adopt him. It's nothing popping up in the courts or anything. So if you adopted him, then respond to her lawyer and let him know that you adopted him. So she has an attorney respond to my lawyer saying that they did a closed adoption. And that's why we can't find the adoption, right? They're like, oh, we did a closed adoption back in 2017, April of 2017. So I'm like, if I've been to the house, 3 or 4 times with the police well before April of 2017, how did y'all go about adopting my son? So my lawyer is like, okay, well, what is the case number? Like, send us a case number. And she's like, oh, well, I spoke to your client April 12th of 2017, and she said that she received our summons, and how could I let someone adopt her baby without her knowing? And so I tell my attorney, like, no, I had my other son April 12th of 2017. There's no way that they spoke to me. I was in active labor. How did they speak to me April 12th of 2017 for adoption, for a closed adoption to be done and finalized by April 27th of 2017? So that means you guys had to start the adoption process when I first gave you my baby? Like, I don't even have the words for that, because so fast forward to all of this happening. Now all of a sudden my grandmother knows my number, right? My grandmother calls me one morning and she's like, oh, the whole family is in an uproar. This is what happens when people do sneaky things behind people's back. I never knew that you didn't know about the adoption. I thought that was a conversation that you and your aunt had. She told me you guys had a conversation, and my thing to her was, if me and you had an agreement, how did you think that me and her, like, you didn't think to come to me like, hey, me and you had a temporary agreement for this child, and now she's coming to me saying that you said you can adopt him? And then come back for part 3 of how my aunt and my grandmother secretly adopted my son. Okay, so this is part 3 on how my grandmother and my aunt, they secretly adopted my son, right? So as I stated in part 2, my grandmother ended up calling me. And after all this time, she finally knows my phone number, right? Because previously, like, I would try to get in contact with her through other family members, and she would just be like, oh, she hasn't tried to call me. I haven't gotten any text from her. Or she'll act like, oh, girl, I got this iPhone and I don't know how to work it, So she even told my mom one time, like, the number you gave me, every time I call that number, a white woman answers. But once my lawyer sent what he did to the house, now all of a sudden you know my number and you're calling me trying to clear your name, trying to make it seem as though you didn't know that I knew nothing about an adoption, which makes no sense to me. So in the midst of the conversation, she's just like, oh, you have to understand, like, me and you, we can bear children. She got so attached, she can't bear children. This is hard for her. So my question is, it's supposed to be just, F how I feel and F my feelings. F this being my son because she can't bear children. Like, I'm supposed to put her feelings before mine. And then the way that it was just, that you guys went about it, it was just all wrong. So she did all of this, and I have this recording. I don't know if I want to drop the recording of our conversation yet, and like all of the emails and stuff from the different attorneys, because I am still trying to, seek the legal action. So I don't know if that would affect anything. But yeah, I recorded our whole phone conversation, right? So remember, I told you guys that she had an attorney contact my lawyer saying that they spoke to me April of 2017, and I said I received the summons and the court date for the adoption, this and that. And after my attorney had ended up telling them, like, no, she was in active labor, there's no way you guys spoke to her, that attorney went ghost. Like, we have not heard from that adoption attorney since. And it is like a private adoption firm. It's like a self-owned business. So she has another attorney end up contacting my attorney. Now, when this attorney contacted my attorney, she's like, oh, we did publication of notice because my client couldn't find your client to summons her, so we put it in a newspaper. So you're telling me that you guys couldn't find me and put an adoption in the newspaper, but previously the lawyer is saying, like, oh, she spoke to me. So which is it? Did you speak to me, or did you have to put it in the newspaper because you couldn't find me? And then saying that you couldn't find me is complete BS, because my grandmother, she's still in full contact with my mother, whom we both speak to every day. My brother, which I mentioned earlier, he lived there. I was in full contact with my brother every single day. So how could you not find me? And if you wanted to summons me, I came to your house with the police multiple times. You could have summoned me then, correct? But no, you guys, you tried to do it behind my back to make sure the stuff went in your favor, right? So my whole thing to my grandmother it was just like, there's no way as a grandmother that you let this go on. Like, my agreement was always with you. So to let another person come in and just completely take over the situation and tell you something totally different, it just breaks my heart. And then over the years of me trying to reach out and trying to contact you guys, and you didn't want anything to do with me, and now it makes sense because you guys did this closed adoption. Now, a closed adoption, you can't be in contact with the biological parents. So that makes sense as to why they always made it seem like they didn't want me around, or they didn't want to speak to me directly, right? But they would ask other family members, like, oh, she graduated nursing school, oh, she bought a house, oh, what is she doing over there? Like, what does she have going on, you know? So you guys made it seem to even to go deeper into the situation, they even spread rumors throughout, like, the family. My family, we're very divided as a family, okay? So you got these people over here, you got these people over here. So, like, the people that I didn't talk to regularly, they even told them I was on drugs, and I told them I didn't want my baby anymore. So all of this stuff is now coming out now that we're taking legal action, right? And hold on. So my aunt that ended up adopting my son, she was one of my favorite people in the world, okay? Like, man, she was. So I would have never expected this from her, and it just breaks my heart to know that you guys, they literally plotted on me from day one. For me to sign a temporary agreement February of 2016, to come back November of 2016, December of 2016, February of 2017, March of 2017, and for an adoption to be finalized April of 2017, that means that you guys already had this in the works. You guys already started the adoption process when I first signed the temporary agreement. And then to clear something up, I know someone commented like, oh, you said that you did the temporary agreement for him to go to school. So when I did the temporary agreement, he was a little baby. He was only like a couple months old, okay? So that was for daycare. Once the temporary agreement was up and he was school age, I guess they just never put him in school. I'm not sure the reasoning why. So yeah, my lawyer, he ended up like, okay, he ended up filing what he needed to file so that we can go to court and everything. And we went in front of a judge, and she's like, okay, before I opened the adoption back up. So she confirmed that it was definitely a closed adoption. So that was the reason why anytime I went to the courthouse with the house with the police, that we couldn't see anything because the adoption was closed, and you need access from like a judge or something to be able to access that file. And then they ended up changing his name. So when they were looking him up by his maiden name that I gave him, that they didn't see anything because they changed his name, they changed his birth certificate and everything, y'all. Hold on. So yeah, they ended up changing his birth certificate and everything. Now, I'm still not sure of when they actually filed for the adoption or anything. Yeah, all of that is still unclear. I know some people were saying like, I can bring them up on kidnapping charges or whatnot, and that's definitely been a conversation. It's just hard. It's hard, and you know, now that my lawyer had ended up getting it, hold on. So yeah, so now that my lawyer had ended up getting it in court and everything, and the judge, she's like, okay, I'm gonna set a court date, and when we come back and revisit this, she wanted to hear my arguments on why I feel like the case should be reopened, and then she wanted to hear their argument solely based off of why they feel like the case should remain closed, right? So now mind you, I have the text messages, the pictures, like emails from different attorneys over the years. I have police reports. I have literally everything showing that I've attempted multiple times to get my child, right? So I won't run out of time. Come back for part 4 on how my grandmother and aunt secretly adopted my baby. Okay, so everyone has been asking for part 4, right? But this is an update. The update is we were supposed to have a court hearing, and they did it without me. They forgot to notify me. So they had a court hearing, but I wasn't there. I don't know what happened at the court hearing. My lawyer did contact me, and I'm supposed to discuss with him what happened and what we can do moving forward. So as of now, I cannot give you guys a part 4 until I know what's going on, or what I can say, or how we will go moving forward. But all of you that's in the comments saying, oh, you waited 10 years, it's been 10 years, this is why it's been taking so long, okay? This is how the police have been doing me, the court systems, my family. Because how do you have a court hearing and not notify me? Forget to notify the person that has brought all of this, trying to bring all of this to court. I don't know what to do. So at this point, I'm just like, anybody that can help. Like, I'm not asking you guys. Someone said in the comments like, oh, what do you want us to do, right? But I want you to repost, and if that's hard for you, okay, don't do it. And all of the rude ass comments, like, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, G, I'm trying to change and hand a lot of things over to God. But baby, I'm not gonna keep on. You think I need the negativity as much as I'm going through right now? Yes, it's been 10 years. Yes, I'm just now speaking out, but I've been fighting. And if I have to fight for 10 more years, I will, because that's my baby. So if you don't have anything positive to say with everything that I'm dealing with mentally, please just keep it moving, okay? And I know I came to the internet, and y'all biggest thing is, oh, well, you put your business on the internet. I understand that, but if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all, because I'm over it. But to everybody that have been supporting me, thank you. And this is the update moving forward. But a lot of people even ask, like, oh, why you ain't try to get your baby out the house? Like, I tried that. I've been there with going to jail, having to bond out, but just growing and getting older is like, do I want to keep going down that road? You know, coming in their neighborhood, causing all this commotion, going to jail, having to bond out, when I can really be putting all of that energy into lawyers or whatever other route that I can take. So it's not that, oh, all of a sudden I'm trying to get my baby. I've been trying, okay? And I'm trying to stay strong mentally. I am. But
y'all, just if anybody can help me, know anybody that can help me, please, because the courts, they clearly playing in my face. Like, they've been had for years. Family been playing in my face. Police been playing in my face. So please, just please, okay?
I feel like these people set her up. They already know what they wanted and they set her. And the thing is, when they say people close to you are the ones that will hurt you the most, this is what we're talking about. Because why will you collect somebody's child just like that? Just because you feel like she's too young to take care of the child at that point. And now that she's ready to have her child back, they're not trying to manipulate the whole situation, that they actually did the adoption, yada yada yada. Like, it doesn't just make sense, and I really feel bad for her. Is there any? I don't even know what to say, to be honest. I don't know if there's something that she can do to get our child back, because this can be very depressing. Imagine you gave your grandma and your aunt, your family members. These are not strangers. These are your family members too. In fact, they suggested it. Don't worry, drop your child with us and go and finish your nursing school or something. Just do something. Because you are not okay to handle the child at that point. So now that you're back on your feet, you came to collect your child and they are fighting your child from you, cannot even see your child. That's the worst. I feel like even if you want to adopt the child, let her see her child because she's the mom. Let her see her child. So now they've changed everything. The child might not even know that she exists, and that can be very painful. I can't believe this is coming from a family member, a grandma, and I really feel for her though. I really don't know what she can do. Is there any lawyer in the house that can actually give her something legal advice that she can do? Because this is really sad. I cannot just imagine this happening to somebody. You drop your child for your family. I don't even think this even makes sense. Are you sure she's not going to? For me, I feel like she should just go there with violence and carry her child and run away. Because what is going on? Okay, now she wants a child and you guys are not giving her a child. You don't even want her to see the child. You don't want her to, like, this is so annoying. If you wanted to adopt the child, you'll have told her from the onset that you wanted to adopt the child for life. Probably should have even let it go, because then she was not on her feet. She didn't have anything at that point. She would have just said, okay, you know what, adopt this child, no problem. But manipulating her and making it look like, oh, I just want to take your child for temporarily a year. When you get back on your feet, come and take your child. And now she's back. She's okay now. She wants to take her child and take care of her child. And you guys want to release the child again. I feel like most this particular story time, right, is just like eye opener for people. If you want to drop your child or drop something very important to family members or friends, always have a written agreement signed by lawyer, witness, everything. Because anybody can just change mouth at any time and there's nothing you can do about it. They can just switch things up at any time and it looks like you're lying, looks like you don't know what you're doing. Because if everything was written and all the old things were, in arrangements, lawyers, everything, I don't think they'll be having issues now. Because now it now look as if it was word of mouth and they didn't want to announce it then because it's the kind of adoption that they don't want that to be involved. Like, it doesn't make sense, you guys. What is your take on this story time? Let's continue the conversation down in the comment section. Respectfully, as always, Sugar Mara Davis, and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.